Up? Welcome back to Banished Souls. This is your Captain Cryptic Gaming. I hope you've been having a wonderful weekend so far. Some of you are headed back into work. Some of you maybe are taking the day off. So I want to go over some builds and show you what we currently use in the game when it comes to PvP and PvE. I like to have a well-balanced ship where you're going to be able to do PvP, and if you can really do that, you're going to be able to take on anything that's going to run in the NPC world, guys. So let's get down to it. So we're going to go to manage ship. There are a lot of ship options that you can still currently use in the game. It sounds like we have some new ones coming up, so definitely check back, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can always keep in touch with what's new and what's coming up. So we are over here at manage ship. You can come to change ship actually, and you will be able to see every ship that you have built and the base stats of that ship, guys. So as you can see, we're currently sitting in a brigantine. I would recommend going back to the battered. The Dow has a few missions. You can run hunting missions. If you go over to Lenitra, you can pick that up. Upgrade your hunting spear. You can go for hippos and stuff. So that's basically what that's for. So I'm going to focus on some of the major ships in the game right now. So we have the Paddle Cam, then you have the Snow, and of course the Sandbuck and the Brigantine. So let's go into this Brigantine here. You'll go to manage ship and weapons. There are so many weapons you can choose from, and regardless of who you talk to, everyone's going to have their preference. So I'm going to show you what works for me here. This is one of those situations where I've not come across anything I can't send to the bottom of the sea. Doesn't matter what it is, a world event, it's not going to matter. So I am currently using these Fire Bombard 3s. Now these are special builds. You have to get the print over at the black market. So they do have the Bombard 2s as well that you can get. They work well, but these have a better rating. So I'm going to show you how I decide to choose a weapon. So you see it says Fire Bombard 3. It has 98 for the power. It's only a green style weapon. But you're also going to see where you have these purple style weapons, but it's only a Basilisk 1. So you can't always just go by color. You have to go with what is best for your aiming, what's best for your gameplay that you do. So I like a Fire Bombard. It's going to have more range than some of the demi cannons and stuff. I know they have a lot of really great demi cannons for flooding and stuff. These here are going to set fires. Then of course you have things such as Torpedo 3. Then you have Rema's Ambition, which is a 60. You would think that that would be higher because that is supposed to be one of the best in-game torpedoes everyone keeps talking about. Like I say, I've not been that impressed with it. Torpedo 3s, they seem to do a lot more damage, but you can bring up a base stat. If you will bring up your details, it's going to show you everything that this will do. It's going to show you the damage it's going to put out, 29, 25, so it's not bad. It takes 7.5 seconds to reload. It has a range of 550 meters. Whereas if you were to go something like this flooding demi, and they do have 3s and up, guys, you're only getting about 250 meters. So you're getting quite a bit more range out of that. So if we had a demi 3 up there, it's still not going to be quite as much damage as this puts out. But then you want to come down here and look at your perk. So you're going to have an explosive 2 perk. It adds 20% of damage as explosive damage in a 35 meter blast radius, which means if your aim's a little off and you're hitting pretty close to the target, you're going to hit it because you're getting a 35 meter blast range. Now that can be bolstered and boosted up, obviously using your furniture. So we're going to go over some of that stuff in the build. This is going to be a very deep, comprehensive build, guys. So it also has Burning 1, which is going to add 10% of damage as burning damage. Damage per slot 292, explosive 585. You're going to have 2,925 actual damage come out, and on top of that, you have potential to put out 292 fire damage and 585 explosive damage. Sorry about that, we hit the wrong switch there. Then you have weak point damage. It's going to increase your power of that hit by 150% magnifold. We have a blast radius of 38 meters, projectile speed of 135 meters, and it'll fit on all size ships. So that's something you can work with. Now there's a lot of talk right now about different types of Seafire weapons. So here's Seafire 3. We had the actual spectral weapon that is for fire. It's not much stronger than this, and honestly I've had absolutely no use for putting one of these on my ship. We played around with it some in some earlier videos, and when you get in a situation where you might run across PvP, which could be at any time if you're taking territories, this is an ineffective weapon made so by the Royal Custodian Armor because of the amount of fire damage it will negate, and we'll go over that as well. So that's, you got to build your ship based off what you're seeing people use. Everyone is currently using the torpedoes and the long nines from Scurlock. And as you can see, this is going to show what else is actually equipped on our ship, which is the Fire Bombard 3s coming down. We've got them stacked, folks. Then we have the Mortar 3. We use it quite a bit. I've thought about doing a Leopold 3, but this has just really been pretty nice for me. I think I'm going to wait for the Coronade to come out. It's an auxiliary weapon. It's basically like a mortar, except when it comes down, it does a split shot. If you remember on Black Flag, when it comes down, you have multiple shots coming down. Well, that's the Coronade. So they're going to be bringing that weapon out with the season pass, which starts on the 27th, guys. And then I don't know if you're looking at your calendars, but today is the 26th. So depending on how this season stuff falls, it may actually fall about midnight tonight at the server change, which has been what's been happening typically. So then, of course, you have your rockets, and we have the Termites 2, the Rockets Pod 3. There's different style rockets and different style pads that you're going to have for this. They're going to do different damage. So while this does more damage, 12,750, as opposed to the 11,700 here, this is a hit and miss, man. If you get really good with them, it could actually potentially be a game changer. I don't like the sighting mechanism. The aim doesn't go up to the crow's nest, so you can see what you're looking at flat on the ground, because that's where you're looking, is where that round circle is. You have a little dotted line that arches way up, and you sort of kind of see where it's coming down, but when you're in high waves, you're not going to see much of anything, guys. So again, use it if you prefer to. I like to keep this Repair Mortar 3 on, because we do play with a lot of our Discord guys. And this is a great way to keep those teams. When you're fighting, you always have that few second cooldown between a repair kit. This is going to help with it. And we have guys that use the, see if we can find it here. Yeah, to repair Long Gun 3, that's another great option. You're going to repair 1,950 per shot with this. It's got a range of 1,000 meters and a reload of 9 seconds. So a little bit longer reload than your Fire Bombard. So if you're using long guns of any type, whether it's healing or battle, you're looking at the same reload times. So a lot of people have asked why I do not run Scurlock's cannons. It must be because the guy can't get them. We'll take you up, show you where we can buy them. I'm waiting to see if there's a better weapon going to come out in the season pass. Everyone has rushed out to grab a little bit of stuff that they have now, but what's coming out is what you want to look at. There's a lot of great armor options. They have something called the Wailing Ward that's going to give you protection against those plague bombs that the end game boss is going to be using in that season. So that may be something worth getting. But today we're talking about armor right now. Let's see. We have the Royal Custodian armor. As you can see, we've got quite a few drops, and I've given a lot of this stuff away to people. So I've been kind of sticking them on ships to clear up some space in our warehouse. So this has a armor value of 1150. It's going to negate 24% of the explosives that you're going to catch. It's going to have a 12% negation against flooding, and 12% against fire, and then a 30% against piercing. So you may be wondering, what is that piercing weapon damage? Well, some guys are running the Mons Meg on their bombarders, and we'll bring that up. We have a Mons Meg 3 here. I'll show you the difference in the stats. So it's not going to have as much explosive range, which is a little disappointing. Let's find it. Where are we at? Yes, so here we go. So Mons Meg 3, we built these. You get 30,075 damage. Hey, that's actually really good when you look at what it was for the others. Was it 2,700? 2925, and you're getting over more than that over here with this. But here's what you got to look at. Reload's the same, range the same, gun port's the same, the fire rate's going to be the same. This is a siege weapon. It's going to increase damage to structures by 50%. So I'm currently using this on my Sam Buck for dropping those walls on those big forts in the East Indies. So definitely worth having. You can mix and match if you want to. I try to run as few types of weapons as possible on my ship with elemental damage, and the reason for that is you're going to run out of deck space, or you're going to run out of hull space if you continue to put 3 or 4 different weapons on. You're trying to keep all the ammunition on there, man. This stuff gets heavy just running to mortars and to bombards. So you're going to get an explosive 1. If you recall, up here we have, I wish they had a way to compare it side by side. It does not. So this is explosive 2 with a 20% burning damage. When you come to this one here again, you're going to see explosive 1, it adds 10% as explosive damage. As piercing 1 adds 10% of damage, as piercing increases damage to weak points by 50%. So that's a great one if you can hit those weak spots on ships as well. It's going to do a lot of damage. You're getting piercing 307 points, but you're losing 307 points switching from that explosive fire bombard 3. So you kind of got to figure out which way you want to go with it. For me, on my PvP ship, I am using the fire bombards as of right now, and a mortar 3. When it comes to furniture, again, and guys, if you've been reading some of the comments, everyone's, oh no, that ship's not going to work. All I know is the ship works for me. We've posted PvP situations up where we've used the ship. We've always come out on top in the videos. So here's something you can look at with your furniture. I am currently using the scrapper station. I know you're probably going, wait a minute, you switched from the rope blocker. Well, I did, mainly because as you start dealing with the larger ships in the in-game scenarios, you don't want to keep using so many repair kits. So the scrapper station is a great option if you've ever boarded the cruise, you've ever fired muskets or thrown the fire bottles and stuff like that, little fire bombs and stuff by hand. This is going to give you an extra 8,000 whole health. It's going to restore 8,000 whole health after any crew attack. So that's automatic health for you. Something to keep an eye on. If you're wondering where to get these blueprints, guys, there's too many pieces of furniture for me to go over each individual one. What you do is you go to the carpenter and you find the blueprint that you like and you mark it and you go pick it up. But most of them are going to be found on Rogue Islands. So then I am still using the Lighten Mast on this. It gives an increased acceleration of 13%. I could switch it to the balance, which would give us an 8% on acceleration, 8% on stopping. But I don't really do much stopping in this game, so. Now, if you were in the snow, that could be a good option for you, maybe, as far as snow, stopping that snow. Then, of course, we have Bombard Powder House. This is going to increase the area effect radius of bombards by 10%. That's when you launch a bombard, you'll see a red circle form on the water, just like you do on the mortar. It's going to be 10% larger for each one of these that you use. Then we have the mortar furnace. It's going to increase the maximum range of a mortar by 10%. I think that's a great one to have on there. And then the maintenance forge. This is going to restore 1% severe damage per second while out of combat. Now, if you've ever gotten toasted, nuked, and you have to start and come back to pick up your gear on that trip back, don't shoot at anything, and you're technically out of combat for that first 15 seconds, and you're going to feel about 15% up. As long as you can stay out of combat, and you can actually feel that meter before you re-engage, pick up your stuff, and re-engage with your buddies. So that's a good one to have on there. So those are my top picks right now for this ship. Now, with furniture, like I say, with ships and anything that you start talking about MMO, you're going to have people that say, nope, that's not what you want to use. What you want to use is, well, here's what I'm going to tell you. Use what works best for you. So this is a mass multiplayer role-playing game. You're playing the part of a captain who's building his ship, guys. It's pretty simple. So you got to figure out how to use this stuff. So ship cosmetics, I've not noticed anything in the cosmetics that do any kind of boosts. I mean, they have all sorts of stuff you can choose from. These are the different sets, and then you can mix and match. Some of the stuff you got to buy. Some of it you can open in-game. There's a lot of it you can open in-game. So I have been asked about my sales. It's called Sweet Nothings, okay? This is picked up through the Ghost Ship mission. They are white during the day, but at night they glow whatever pattern and emblems that you're using, just like the Ghost Ship does. And you can even get the Ghost Ship emblem if you prefer. Then your figureheads, they have different stuff. If you want more of a traditional style, you just want to put a ramming hook on there. Now, this isn't going to actually add any extra ramming ability to the ship, but it looks nice. So then you have things that you can buy with sovereigns. You can buy them with pieces of 8. So this one here is Cold Comfort. It actually makes that weird howling noise. We of course used Grim Reaper. Then your hull, it's going to have different color codes you can use. You can use any types of the stuff. Now there is a rumor going around that if you use spikes, okay, like those or these or those, that it's going to keep the sea monster from attacking you. Okay, so something you think about. Do you see any buffs on this? No. So it's not doing anything other than adding cosmetics. Now, does it look good in the video? Sure, if that's what you want. And you can design your ship to look however you want, but I wish people would stop giving false information about, well, this is going to add a buff to keep the sea monster from actually attacking your ship. I've not noticed anything along those lines. But I might actually switch over to this and do some redesigning of our ship here after a while. Looks like we've opened some new stuff. And the same with placards. My understanding was you're supposed to be able to change whatever your name is going to be in this placard. But it's not. It's just whatever the placard is. And then you can change your name for your ship. And that may show up on other people's screens. I've not noticed. I like to be always ready helm here because it comes from the Ashen Corsair set. It just looks cool. It has the double flintlocks across it. But again, they have a lot of different options you can choose. So these are these compasses. We've actually got this drop in a special event from the Cutthroat Cargo box, which is, just a wind vane, it looks like. So, or a compass. It says it's a compass. It looks like a wind vane the way it's working to me. But then your crew outfits. I've not seen anything where you can customize your crew, so you can use your limbers. Now in the actual beta, these lemurs gave a percentage boost to certain things, but I'm not noticing any boost on these guys now, so I guess they scrapped that idea. So we're currently using the cat that you get when they were doing the beta, and we was all watching the streams to get that cat with the peg leg. Well, there he is. My understanding, it was supposed to be called a snow leopard, but it's just called Sheldon now. So then of course you could change out all the different little types of decorations on your ship, whatever it is that you prefer, but you're not going to get a bigger boost on that. So let's do something real quick. We're going to change our ship. I'll show you a few different things. So everyone has their own specific ship that they like to run. There's a lot of guys that love running the snow. There's a lot of hate going on to the sandbuck right now. That is just, like I say, player's preference, but the snow is probably one of the most well-liked ships there are in the game. Now I'll discuss with some of the things I don't like with it. So, one, it's slow. Anytime you're doing missions, sometimes, especially if you're running, say, a legendary heist, and you have to get back to base, and everybody's in Briggs, and they leave you sitting by yourself, everyone goes, "Oh, I just tanked the." Well, understand, you're going to have the same types of base stats that everybody does, and the gear that you have, I've bought inside the black market, is the best you can get. Short of putting Skurlock's 9s and dim rim and torpedoes on. I'm not a big long gun fan. There's a few times where it's like, yeah, it'd have been nice to have that for that 1,000-meter distance. And that's something that we may look at if something better doesn't open up to put on the bow. But when it comes to this ship, so we've stripped it down of its weapons and stuff. But there are some base stats on it. If we can bring them up here. I think we're going to have to bring them up this way. Okay. So it's a tank, specialized in bracing against incoming damage. The tank excels in defense. So what is the first thing that you would want to put on this? Well, I would recommend that you go into the black market and you need to get that blueprint to build the water tank. Okay. So when you're bracing, it's going to be restoring your stamina and things like that. So that's a really good option to have in there. When you're See, tenacity recovers brace strength by 4% per second. Well, if you've got that water tank on there, it's going to increase that as well. I'm not bothered with the water tank. I'm trying not to build tanks this time. I do have this ship, and I might throw some weapons on it later. But right now, as far as my cargo, I'm using the Sandbuck which is set up. I've got all of our Mons Meg 3s on there. If you look down at cargo, it's got the exact same amount of cargo space, has just a little bit more speed, but it does have lower hull health. So if you're doing those short runs to grab, say, your sugar cane or your poppy or whatever product you're after, and you're running that little deal where you can load up your contracts and you just jump from a fast point, shoot a ship real quick, and then come back. This is going to work for what you need, and it's going to have a lot of damage. So this one here specializes in DPS, whereas say the snow class is more about tenacity, just hanging in there. It's just a tank. So it has a base hull health of 50%. People have asked, can you get it to an 11? Absolutely, you can. All you have to do is go in and put the Royal Custodian armor on and arm it up with those high-end cannons that we got. And guess what? We're at 11, guys. So right now, I've just got it stripped down. It does have a piece of armor on it. It's going to give you a 24% mitigation against explosives. It's going to give you 12% mitigation with your flooding and the piercing 30%. That's because of the Royal Custodian armor, guys. We took off everything but the bombard powder house on this ship just to move it over. Now you may be wondering, how am I switching between these ships without having to empty everything? Well, you just move it to cargo. As long as your smallest ship that you're going to use was final cargo and you move into a big ship, you can always move back into the small one. Now, if you moved into the Patagon or the Dow here, I'm sorry, if you moved into this Dow, you would have to put everything in a warehouse and just get what you need as far as food, repair kits, and you have to spear your own person at all times. But yeah, this Sambuck, man, this is a great weapon when it comes to, or a great ship when it comes to those castles. So there was a lot of talk. People said, "No, the ship is going to be great because it's not good for PvP." Well, I've actually done quite a bit of damage and sunk a few folks in PvP. Now it's not going to stand there and punch it out like a snow, and it's not going to have the speed to get away like a brigantine. But what you will have is you're going to have a situation where you can put out some massive damage depending on what you're doing. So this deals 5,000 burning damage. Now, the reason that I use those Mons Meg on this thing, guys, is because we need something to take out these heavy, thick-walled forts in a timely manner. With 3 guys, it can take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes sometimes on those level 11 to 12 forts, guys. And we haven't even done the 15 yet. I'm waiting for some of my buddies to get back on, and we're going to try that again. But we have quite a bit of cargo space, as you can see with this ship. We had Mons Meg on there. We could put that fire bombard on it, which would take it to the rank 11, even though the Mons Meg has a greater stat. I think this is a pretty good build for this, mainly because it's going to add that extra damage. You're going to get that 5,000 burning damage whenever you set a blaze effect on an enemy ship, and that can be done just by landing these on top. Now, you're not going to get those big explosions that you get with the fire bombards, but you are going to set burning damage. So it's a real good thing to do. As far as if you're looking for something to take out those walls, that's going to be my selection to Sambuck with those Mons Meg 3. Maybe wondering, where do I get those at? Well, you get the blueprint over there in the black market, guys. But that's kind of a comprehensive look at managing ships. You can build it however you want. You're going to see people, they're going to tell you that Seafire is the way to go, that you need a Spectre weapon because it's better. You're getting about 20 more points out of Spectre weapon. Then you're carrying the fuel for that as well. Then they've got the Skurlock Long Nines, and then they've got the Zamzumas, and then they've got bombards, and then they've got mortars, and then they've got torpedoes, and they start naming all the stuff that they put on a ship, 5 different types of weapons. And I'm going, well, one, I think you can really only do maybe 4, but maybe you can do 5. This one here, you can do 5. So they've put all the stuff on it, carrying all that extra ammunition on a brigantine. Now, as you can see, if you go to our cargo here, we don't have a whole lot of unnecessary items on here. So we come back in, we're going to move this over. We're going to move this over. Oh, we had a chest from running an event earlier. We'll open that and see. Tobacco leaves. That's what I typically get, stuff like that. It's been kind of pointless, honestly, with some of those missions, unless you're just grabbing the gear that's in it. But we don't have much in here. We do have, I carry about 300 to 400 rounds of these bombard and mortar rounds, so we got close to 500 now. So that's where a lot of the weight's coming from. If you're looking at our weight down here at the bottom, underneath this list, straight down, you're going to see the hull, and we're at half capacity. which actually a little bit more than half capacity, and that's just carrying stuff. So what can we do to trim some of that down? Well, what we can do is we can move over some of the items that we don't need. So maybe we don't want to, if we get sunk, we don't want to lose all of our stuff. Maybe you don't want to go back and get your cargo. So what you can do is you can come in and move some of this stuff over. So that's going to leave 100 of the repair kit 3s over here. It gave us quite a bit of space. So you have to look and see exactly how much stuff you're carrying. So we carry the 2s and the 3s. We have the enhanced and all that mess over here. We can build just about anything there is. You're going to have to carry those oil canisters for any type of Seafire weapon. That stuff gets heavy quick. So I carry the flask. I carry some water barrels. You can get those in Tuluk Penjara over at the Hawker. They used to have a blueprint for it, and I had the blueprint where you could just build them. And after they did the official release and had the little update for the maintenance stuff, it went away. So I'm no longer able to build them, but you can still buy them up there in the East Indies. So some good things you can do. Now you may see on some of your cargo that you have like a little blue star or a yellow star that's showing that these can be used in a mission. It's called Blacksmith's Cake, and you're just turning weapons or ammunition over to him. I don't recommend that you do that unless you just hard up for the silver. The reason I say I wouldn't recommend that you do it is because then you have to get your ammunition for yourself again. So it'll take every ball that you'll hand him. You know, he just doesn't discriminate on it. So, but I hope that helps you out with some of these ship build guys. Like I say, we are using this Brigantine right now. It's a really great all-around type of a ship as far as just what it can do and what it can handle. And if you can't handle it, it's time to get out, and you can have that speed there. If you are traveling at 18 knots and the wind's just right and you hit a water barrel or a flask, you're going to be running 21 knots. So that's something that's great about this ship, is there's nothing going to hang there with it usually. But everyone is talking about these Skurlock 9s, and we had a set drop in one of those events. Tried them out. I'm not saying they were a bad weapon. I don't care about the long 9s much. There's been only a few situations where I've had a ship pretty far up and go, I really need to be able to hit that guy, and this thing just doesn't have the range. I mean, you're looking at almost twice the range of a Bard, but are you going to be accurate at that range? And for me, I was noticing the accuracy obviously drops the further out it is. So I traded them off to a guy, and I was able to finish off my other contracts and stuff, and building some of these other weapons and stuff. But that is great. That is what I have recommendation, guys. Just build it the way that you build it. If you're the type of person you're running in real fast and you're just slaughtering people as you go along, you're not tanking an area, meaning sitting in one spot just kind of shooting or just barely moving, taking the blows, the Brigantine is probably what you're going to want to use. I'm hoping that they come up with something to increase the hull of the sandbuck a little bit more. We do run the double board hull on that, but it only adds 5% to the health, so it's really not a whole lot. So it's kind of a wash at this point, but it is great for taking out forts. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a wonderful day, guys.